Hey, everybody, it's Dan Ryan, PMP exam coach and trainer, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Mehboob from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh. And welcome, Mehboob.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I'm really happy to see you.
And I'm happy to see you too. And so you're connecting from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now you're in the IT industry?
Yes, I am.
Oh, tell us briefly.
I'm working as a
Tell us what you're doing.
I'm working as a IT support manager. So the company where I'm working, we are data service provider for the stock market. We have our own software platform. Most of the banks here in Saudi are our client. Our order management system are running all across the Saudi. Plus, we have a regional offices all across Middle East and Africa and in Sri Lanka. So this is the core company business which we are working. So my role basically include leading the team of software engineers and developer, and plus deployment support engineers. So time to time, these software issues, bugs after rolling out a new application. So any issues which has happened, so maintaining the SLA with each client. So I'm leading the role for the team of engineers.
Very good. That's interesting. And so you're making sure everybody can do their financial transactions.
Exactly.
I have a Fidelity account, so maybe you could give me some tips sometime.
Sure.
All right.
In this business, time is money.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So you found yourself needing to take the PMP exam. How did you come to the realization that you needed to take the PMP exam?
Although my job is mostly as a support manager side, however, during the course of my tenure of working in this company, I was actively involved in our PMO department, not as a PM, but as a coordinator, especially for the resource planning during the UAT. So partly I was involved and working on a PM framework. But since I'm lacking this certification, so finally I decided to, this is the time.
And was it recommended to you from your manager or from your coworkers, or was it purely something that you thought of?
I would say my manager was my general manager. He was, since quite a while, he was telling me you have to go for this recognition or certification. Plus, two of my.
All right. So was it a requirement, or was it just saying you really should do this?
Should do this.
Right. Okay. But you were able to read between the lines and realize, oh man, this is something that they're going to really insist that I do this.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And if I don't have to do it here, I'll have to do it at the next job or so on.
Exactly.
All right. So then you said, okay, I'm going to do this thing. So now somehow you came to me, but what kind of research did you do? Did you look at other companies? Did you go on the internet? What did you do?
For my preparation to PMP?
To find out who you wanted to work with, what resources were out there, what kind of investigation did you do?
See, Dan, I don't know if you remember, I was interacting with you way back in 2016.
Right. I know you came on early, but then you came back later. And the second time you were serious about it.
Yes. Okay. So time to time, anytime, when I receive an email for any webinar, I actively attended your webinar.
So you were checking out some of my videos, some of my free events and webinars. Yes. And you were liking what you were seeing, you hung around. And then when it was time to get serious, you were like, okay, I'm going to jump in with Dan. I've been watching him. I've been watching him you've been watching me. You were trolling me for a couple of years.
Yes.
All right, cool. So you came in, you did it, you got immersed into it. And what blockers did you face in your study? So you started in 2016, and obviously you didn't finish until 5 years later. What blockers did you face?
Yeah, to tell you honestly, during this 4 years period, and by the time I finish my PMP, I have done other certification. I did ITIL, I did Coursera, a lot of courses from IBM. I have done some courses, the main thing which I realized, developing the tempo is the key. Like during all this 4 years, I was not, just making up my mind, what, this is the time just to do it. As soon as I made up my mind, like this is the time and start focusing, I just did it.
All right. So
And the blocker,
let's not characterize it as you were sitting idle with nothing to do. But at the same time, in terms of getting the PMP completed, it still was a period of a couple of years. So at some point after ITIL or Scrum Master or these other certifications, at some point you said, time to focus on the PMP. And are you saying that once you really focused fully on the PMP, you had no problems?
yes. The one thing which I additionally, developing the tempo, finding the right resource material. Once you dive into internet, you will have, tons of different.
Well, that's what I was sort of hinting at before when I was asking you what methods you used to try to make sense of all of that.
Mhm.
So how did you make sense of it all, and how did you come to pick me out of, or did you use multiple providers maybe?
I did not. I was I was keeping in touch with Cornelius Premcast, and from one of his email, I found your PM exam coach. From that point onward, I found and I started, as I told you a while back, interacting with you, and then I was making comparison with Cornelius and you, and time to time I attended his webinar as well. The thing which I like in your case, your webinar and your way of teaching is very engaging. Engaging in the sense you came up with a time bound. You know what? This is the domain, or this is the PM box section. We will finish it. Then in parallel, you have to do the practice questions. So from that point onward, I developed interest in your program.
Okay, so I was a taskmaster, and
yes.
I made it very clear what piece of the material you were covering, what section quizzes you had to do, and you liked that accountability, is what you're saying.
Exactly, because your approach was very practical, like minimizing the effort rather than, if I personally get involved and just looking into some of the stuff which may not be a value for the PMP exam, but for you, from your side, which one is during the course of your webinar, the tips which you are usually give to all the viewers, what, this is important, you have to focus. That really helps a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, over the years, you hear the same things, you learn lessons learned from the exam takers. So, all right, well, I'm glad to hear that. It doesn't sound like you had any major blockers. It sounds like you had a lot of other certifications going on, but once you were ready to dial it in on the PMP, you came through, you chose my program, you liked the engagement. How was your experience on exam day?
See, on exam day, definitely you feel a little bit nervous. However, I did complete 3 months of full study every day, 3 to 4 hours, and in a firm time. I scheduled my time after I came back from my work around 6 o'clock. So 2 hours, I take some rest from 8 o'clock until 11:30 at night, straight every single day.
And now let me ask you about that. Looking back on the exam experience now, the information that I provided you in my materials and those number of hours that you studied each day, I would ask you this. If you could do it all over again, would you still think that you have to study 3 to 4 hours a day for 3 months, or maybe could you compress it?
I would compress. Because,
by how much? By what percentage?
50%, I would say.
50?
Yes.
50%.
Like 2 hours.
So you were really overly thorough. Instead of 3 to 4 hours a day, you could have probably done a bare bones with my program 1 to 2 hours a day.
2 hours, exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? You wanted to make really sure that you passed it. So, all right, good. That's great. All right. So your exam day experience, though, of course, you had the normal nerves. When you got to the end of the exam, did you feel like, okay, I got this, I'm going to click submit, and I know I passed?
See, I will just give you the brief, my experience. The first 60 questions I found very easy. Like I was literally out of four choices,
Yeah.
I was 100% sure these are the elimination, like I have to eliminate those
Wow.
choices and
Yeah.
corrected the right one. The second batch of 60 question I found a little bit difficult because most of them, like a maximum question were from risk management and PM leadership, conflict management skills, and several questions
People
yeah,
concepts.
exactly. Several questions I found on team motivation, team building, and empowering the team. So those were very tricky questions.
Also can
And
be there can be agile baked into that.
yes, agile based, definitely, I would say 70-80% agile based question,
Wow.
7 at least.
I know it may feel like that. They say that the exam is 50% agile only, but there's probably lots of agile.
More than that, more
I
than
hear
that.
you. I hear you.
And
Everybody says that. It's what everybody says. But
yeah, another thing which I noticed in my exam, like from the stakeholder point of view, they were not happy. There was some conflicting scenario between the business case and business benefit realization. That kind of scenario I did not experience during the course of study. So this one I
well, we
found a
talked
little bit.
about the benefits management plan. We talked about the business case. We talked about the project charter, right?
Yes.
All three of those artifacts are inputs to the topic that you were just describing.
Yes.
Right. So if you have a leverage of those artifacts, you're using them properly with the right methods or techniques. But yeah, there was a big emphasis. This is what I'm hearing. This feedback you're giving me is what I'm hearing is that the scenario question is often heavily focused and based now around a people scenario involving
Yes.
some disgruntled stakeholders or some uncertainty or some risk in a situation. And so the scrum master, the servant leader, whatever, the project manager has to use servant leadership, emotional intelligence, problem solving techniques, conflict management techniques, right? Good communication skills. And somehow you have to, what are the steps to, what do you have to do to resolve the problem?
Yes, correct. Absolutely correct.
And maybe some of the answers, there could look like there could be multiple correct answers.
Yes, that's what I said.
One answer is the most right. So on your first 60 questions, you mowed right through them. But on the second 60, you started to come across ones where you weren't so sure.
Yes. Because as I said, the first 60 question, I was pretty sure after I eliminated. But second batch of 60 question was very, very tricky. After finish the second batch.
How many did you mark for review?
Altogether, I would say 5 to 7.
Okay, yeah. Good. That's about what I recommend, or less than 10. Otherwise, you can have so many mark for reviews that gets confusing.
Yes.
And what about your timing? Did you finish early overall?
Yes, I finished early. Yes, I finished 20 minutes earlier than my schedule.
Oh, wow. And did you use that 20 minutes to go back and check
answers? Yes.
Did you change any?
However, as you know, for online-based exam, once you finish the previous 120 question, you will have only access to your last batch of 60 questions.
All right, so you did the exam with Pearson Vue remotely or in person?
Yes, remotely, yes, remotely.
And so when you do it remotely with Pearson Vue, if I'm correct, the 180 question PMP exam is broken up into 3 60 question assessments.
Yes, correct.
And each time you submit one of the 60 question chunks, you can no longer go back to that. You must go forward to the next 60.
No. Once you accept that, would you like to take a break? So once you accept,
you get a break in between. You got a 10-minute break in between both sections.
Yes.
But you don't have to.
But still that the last 60 question I found, some drag and drop and some only 2 question calculation, like formula based, but no need to use your calculator. Is straightforward.
Mental calculations.
However, I utilize my full time, even though I have 20 minutes left. I reviewed all the last 60 questions to make sure, I'm not missing anything.
But you didn't change anything.
I think only one of the 2 questions I just reviewed and changed my. answers.
I'd really like to know if you changed it to the right or changed it to the wrong.
That,
We'll never get to know that, will
I
we?
cannot.
But do you know that most people change it from the right to the wrong?
Yes, it might happen.
So
Yes.
you have to be very careful with that little feature. All right. Well, hey, this has been fantastic. What an exciting journey for you, and a cool story too, man. So let me ask you this. To the people out there who are still studying for the exam, currently studying, based on your reflections, maybe you have a takeaway or a lesson learned, what would you recommend to people who are currently studying for the exam? You don't have to recommend my program per se. I'm just talking about general, sort of platitudes. You've gone through this whole thing. You studied maybe too much. Maybe you would have studied less. Maybe that's part of what you'll recommend. I don't know. Would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I have, very precise and straightforward lessons learned. First of all, start with firm study plan and stick to your objective. Very, very important. And stick to your timetable. As I told you, like, you have to be very strict to your time frame. If you like to start your study on a daily basis at 8 o'clock in the evening, 6, so it's up to you based on your regional time and your nature of work you are doing. Very, very important. And build resilience to sit for 2 to 3 hours with full concentration. Just avoid your social activity, WhatsApp, Twitter, all those things. And one thing which I personally noticed, doing the practice questions, very, very important. And while doing the practice question, review your wrong and right answers both. It's not only that it is right, you just skip. Even though if you have selected the right question, just to build confidence, you have to review those, and wrong questions, you have to develop your own error logs. What I have done that this question has ended up with selecting the wrong choices. So that error log will help you a lot.
I like
Apart
that.
from this,
That sounds like a programmer.
Yes. Apart from that, as I told you, while searching for tons of different resources, I have developed my own blog. I have, if you like, I will send you my blog link.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. I'll put the link to your blog in the comments down below in the YouTube.
Wonderful.
And anybody who watches this video will be happy to join you.
Great,
but
great.
So let me summarize your lessons learned here. So number one, have a plan, have a list. Okay, have a plan that you're going to follow. Number two, make a ritual around it. Okay, if it's 8 o'clock every night when nobody's going to bother you, or maybe it's 6 o'clock in the morning before you walk the dog,
it's up to you.
Have that time every day where that's PMP time.
Yes.
All right. Number three, all right, the simulators, and not just reviewing just the ones that you got wrong, but also look at the justifications on the one that you did right. All right, and cement that understanding.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mehboob, thank you so much. Please, anybody who would like to connect with Mehboob, we're going to put his link to his blog down below. All right. And I will also put a link from the PM exam coach down there for you to get some helpful resources, such as the ones that I provided to Mehboob. So
thank you so much.
To Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, sir, thank you so much for being with me today. And
I'm also
go ahead.
I'm also would like to again repeat, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I will be more than happy, anything I can do for our PM community,
good,
going forward.
Maybe you and I can do a PDU class together in the future.
Yeah. Why not?
All right.
I will be very happy.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being with me today.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Bye now.
Have a good day. Bye.
Cheers.